Velocity banking is the fastest way to destroy debt. Here's how you do it. Let's say you have a $35,000 loan that you need and you get it through a bank. It's going to be a 6-year loan and it's going to give you a monthly payment of $596. Just to show you where I got the number, I pulled up auto loan calculator and I ran your 72-month loan at 7% interest through, and it gives you a payment of $596. Now, whenever you do a loan through the bank, you have to have full coverage. So that costs you about $175 per month, giving you a monthly total of $771. Now, you might be familiar with the term velocity banking, but it's very possible that you don't know how it works. There's a few ways you can do it. You can have either a HELOC through your house, or you can have a margin loan using your stocks as collateral. Velocity banking is where you borrow large amounts of debt from other assets and you quickly apply it to the principal payment. What I mean is, let's say that you have a home where you have equity and you borrow $15,000 from the home and you pay off about half of the car. Now, you still have your monthly payment on the car of $596 per month, but you've paid off almost just half of the loan immediately, cutting the amount of interest you're going to pay close to in half. Now, your monthly payment doesn't change, and there's actually a better way to do this than just velocity banking in that manner. And what I mean by that is the better way to do it would be to pay off this loan in full in one go, replacing your bank loan with the interest-only loan. Now, there's a few different types of interest-only loans that you could use. You could use a HELOC through your home, and you could also use margin through stocks. Margin is just where you have a stock portfolio and you use that stock portfolio as collateral, borrowing against the portfolio at low interest rates, such as 4.5%. All you would do is click borrow more, and you would type in the amount that you want to borrow, giving you your monthly payment, which actually goes down as you pay off that interest, which is a huge benefit that you don't get with a principal and interest loan through the bank. Now, margin is a little riskier than a HELOC in the sense that you can lose your money. You have something called margin health, and if that were to go to zero, they would repay the loan with your assets that have gone down in value, meaning that you would lose the majority of your investment. To start using margin in most brokerages, you need to have at least $2,000 invested. And really, you should build a stronger foundation and base before you even consider using margin. You can borrow up to half of your amount invested. So my portfolio is just under $600,000. I could borrow close to $300,000. Now, if you were to take that $35,000 loan through the bank, you would pay essentially $8,000 in interest through the life of the loan. I've broken it out here so you can see what each year looks like as far as your new loan balance and the amount of interest that you've paid over that period of time. Now, if you have enough in assets and you can just replace that bank loan with a interest-only loan, whether it's through a HELOC or through margin, you are in a vastly superior situation. And here's what I mean. You do not have to have full coverage if you have your vehicle paid off. When you velocity bank, where you can pay it off in full in one go, you have the option to use liability insurance. That itself saves you about $120 per month in your monthly payment. Your total monthly payment through the bank with full coverage plus your principal and interest is $772. When you have a monthly payment and you use margin, your actual monthly payment is only $131.25. When you add in liability insurance, that gives you a new total of just $185. That's an extra $586 in your pocket every single month. What can you do with an extra $586? Now, I broke out a graph showing what it would look like if you were to just use velocity banking to make this same $772 payment towards the balance. So you can see how much interest you pay over that period of time and what it looks like when it's amortized. So here you can see that you have your $772 payment. And what happens is every time that you make principal payments, the amount that you owe is reduced. Therefore, the amount that you pay interest on is reduced, meaning you have more cash in your pocket every single time you make a payment. It doesn't start out as much, but over time, it does add up. For your convenience viewing this, I have made each year green. So by the end of your first year, you can see that your balance went from $35,000 all the way down to about $27,000. Your new monthly interest payment, instead of being $131, has dropped down to $104, meaning that your new total payment is able to be $799 with those interest dollars that were saved that are now applied to your total payment. Now let's contrast this with the car loan through the bank. After year one, you still owe $30,000. You've already shaved an extra $3,000 off of the principal balance. Now, when we get to year two, you've paid off almost half of the vehicle, and it's only been 2 years. Your interest payment has gone from 131 all the way down to just $71 per month. And that allows you to pay more of the total payment every month, therefore more of the principal payment every month. Now you're able to make an $832 per month payment, and that doesn't change your cash flow at all because that's coming from dollars that were saved. That doesn't happen with your principal and interest loan. Now, let's look. Year two, you have a balance of just $18,000 left. You already owe around $7,000 less than through the bank. When we get to year three, you only owe $8,600. And your monthly payments are getting bigger and bigger. Your loan is nearly paid off. And it's only been 3 years, and you're paying the same amount through the bank dollar for dollar. When we look at year three through the bank, you still owe $19,000. And through the bank, you still have 3 years left. Now, by the time our velocity banking strategy gets to year four, the loan is paid off in full. And you've paid far less in interest. I'll show you in a moment. And you've paid far less in interest. So keep in mind, when we get to year four through the bank, you owe $13,000 still. Month 48 would be year four with velocity banking. And there is no month 48. Your loan is paid off. Now, if you look in the bottom right, you see the total amount of interest paid through velocity banking. Only $3,254. Less than you would have paid in year one and two with your principal and interest loan. This is why banks keep these type of loans secret. They profit off of you massively. When you have collateral, meaning assets that you can borrow from that the bank would keep if you don't make your payment, you get far more favorable interest rates. Imagine if you were doing this with credit card debt. You would have your debt paid off so quickly. Now, like I said before, this doesn't come without risk. And if you have a low credit score, you probably shouldn't do this. The reason is that your credit score is a reflection of your ability to manage debt. And if your credit score is poor, you're not managing debt well now, and the odds of you managing debt well with assets is about the same. If that's your situation, first you need to figure out how to pay off your debt. Let's say, for example, that you have credit card debt. One great strategy would be to consider getting a 0% interest credit card and moving your balance over to that 0% interest credit card, which sometimes lasts up to about 2 years. This gives you the ability to pay off that loan very quickly because you're not paying interest. You're only paying a minimum monthly payment. Now, when you do this, yes, there's a fee, but for many people, this is a fantastic strategy to get out of credit card debt quickly. You're never going to get rich if you have credit card debt. Now, one thing to note that many people aren't familiar with is whatever your interest rate is, if you choose to pay that debt down, that is the ROI that you're giving yourself. What I mean is that if I choose to pay down this $161,000 balance, I'm giving myself a 4.5% return on my money. I'm not doing it for the return. I would be doing it to get my margin health to a safer place where I'm not in danger of losing all of my assets. Hope that makes sense and hope you learned a lot from this video. See you next time.